Writer's Branding.
Hey, it's Benji Cole, son of Al Cole from CBS Radio, welcoming you to another edition of People of Distinction, the talk that gives an in-depth view of some of the most dynamic, intelligent, and successful people on the planet. Run to our website, peopleofdistinction.org for more info, or you can email me directly at benji@alcoleenterprises.com. And on the line with us today, we have Kenne Wayne. Now, Kenne's going to be speaking on behalf of Tawnee Chasny, who's written these amazing books. Now, the main book we're going to be focusing on today is Ting, The Silent Warning. Now, that's going to be available at Amazon, Barnes & Noble. It's not at her personal website yet, but make sure you do yourself a favor and go there and check it out. So this way, you can find other titles by Tawnee, but you can also find more about her. And that's author DonnaChasny.com. And I will say, Kenne was brought to our network, People of Distinction, today by some of the best movers in the business, Writers Branding Publishing. So if you have a book that you'd like moved, move it through Writers Branding. You can find them at writersbranding.com. And guys, listen, it is an absolute pleasure to have Kenne here on the line because first and foremost, again, it's an honor that he's here speaking on behalf of the late Tawnee Chasny, because these books were so amazing that we couldn't just let it go. We had to actually bring him here and give him the opportunity to explain her magnificent creations. Now, we're starting off with Ting, The Silent Warning. Now, this is an action-packed suspense thriller, okay? First and foremost, it's going to follow two female protagonists who have their own journey in which that they're following. But then there's a wrench thrown in, which of course in every story there always is, that brings them together and really forces them to depend on each other to overcome the obstacle that they find in their way. And first and foremost, having strong female protagonists is something that I love to talk about here on the network, right? Representation is so important. And having strong female leads is something that we don't see nearly enough of, right? In television shows, in movies, in stories, and right off the bat, just that alone is something that I love that Tawnee took it upon herself to do. But then another underlying message is it's all about connectivity. It's all about caring and sharing with the people that we have in our lives and really the people that are important to us. And that, of course, is something that you guys know we love to discuss here at People of Distinction. We're constantly talking about our human family and those around us and what we need to do to really come together as a community and grow and develop. And this book is right along those lines, of course, with a suspense thrill added in just for safe measure. And listen, Kenne is the expert here. He knows the book through and through. He worked with Tawnee and really helped comprise these books. So he's going to be able to articulate all the nuances in the books much better than I ever could. So without further ado, let's bring him here with us. Kenne, first and foremost, thank you so much for being a guest with us today on People of Distinction. How are you?
I'm fine. Hi.
Well, listen, Kenne, we're very much looking forward to this. I know we have so much to cover. Now, before we jump into the book itself, let's hold off slightly. Kenne, start by telling our listening audience, a little bit more about yourself, a little bit more about Tawnee, and really the relationship that you two shared.
Okay, sure. I was an aerospace engineer. I'm retired now. And of course, Tawnee also worked there. And she was an instructor that certified the assemblers. Every year they had to be recertified, so they had this department training, and she worked her way up to that point. Anyway, she was an assembler herself at the beginning, and then and worked her way up to becoming this trainer. And then she retired. She had an early retirement because she had an injury, and then and she was off work for a while, And I guess they decided they didn't need her anymore. So they just gave her full retirement at the age of 50, I believe it was. So she got lucky on that part.
Absolutely. Now, Kenny, I'm curious. You and Tawnee both come from this background of, you said aerospace engineering. Where did the creative writing come into this? I mean, really, what inspired her to switch? Obviously, retirement, brought her out of aerospace engineering. But what inspired her to embark upon a creative journey and become a writer?
I don't know. She mentioned one time that she wanted to write. She thought it was cool now that she was retired, that she had more time to write and stuff. And for sure, that was back at the beginning of Ting. That was had to be the late 90s, I believe, when she started on it. Of course, she retired back in 96. But anyways, that's how long. I don't know. I think I got her into reading for one thing. She didn't read much until after we got married, and I introduced a couple of books to her, and she got fascinated by reading, I guess, after that. And we were, trading books back and forth all the time. That was, of course, before she retired. But maybe that's what it was. Maybe she had some ideas she wanted to put down on paper or something.
Absolutely. Well, listen, we're very glad that she did, whether it was with your inspiration and really putting her onto it or something else, because now we're left with these fantastic books, and we're so glad that she did take it upon herself to put that into writing. Now, Kenny, without further ado, Ting, The Silent Warning. Tell us a little bit about her book.
Okay. This has like a little bit of enchantment in it. And the item in question is just a plain old glass crystal that was enchanted by her grandfather to warn her against danger, and it would also warn her if something was going right for her. So it made two different sounds: a ting for like good or yes, and a tong for bad or no, and it also made itself look brilliant, all kinds of like rainbow lights shooting from it and all that stuff. But she was the only person who could see it, and I believe that was a tool for her to keep track of it or something. But they don't really go into that so much, but that's how she found it in the first place. She would ask the stone for, she would ask it a yes or no question. It would either say ting or tong, or if there was impending danger, it would just go tong out of nowhere, or just, hey, pay attention type of thing. And something bad's about to happen or whatever.
It does revolve around, again, these two women, and of course, as you're articulating now to us, but something happens, right? I mean, something comes into the story that actually brings these two women together to overcome a certain obstacle, correct?
Right, yes. The impending danger is these guys that used to live at the house of one of the ladies. The lady who just recently moved there, and she saw somebody, checking out her house one day, and she met with this girl that was like a 20-minute walk or so from her house, from her cabin to the other girl's cabin. They met at another friend's house and planned a dinner together to get to know each other better. Okay, so the older lady, she goes to the younger lady's house, and then And then later on in the evening, she comes home, and she sees these people out in front of her house again that she saw earlier. And then in the next morning, she finds a big hole in the backyard. And so the story kind of starts there. She calls up the younger woman and tells her about it, and they meet up, and then they talk to the younger girl, introduces her to the sheriff, and he gets involved, and so on. And so the two women get to know each other right off the bat that way. And since they're together, and the perpetrator of the hole, he's aware of both women. Of course, he knew the younger woman because he would see her during the summer in the years when he was growing up, and then of course he knows about the older woman because he sees her living in his old house, or his parents' old house.
Again, here on the line with Kenne Wayne, speaking on behalf of Tawnee Chasny. We just finished discussing Ting, The Silent Warning, available at Amazon, Barnes & Noble. Not available at her personal website yet, but do yourself a favor, head on over there to get everything that she has to offer, as well as the next book we're going to discuss, Clayton Downsized, and that's available at author DonnaChasny.com. Now, Kenne, thank you so much for articulating everything pertaining to Ting. Now, the second book that she also wrote was Clayton Downsized. Tell us a little bit about that one, please.
That was the first one she actually had published, even though she wrote Ting first. But anyways, that was about a guy who gets laid off because the company was downsizing. And that was kind of a big deal for us in the aerospace industry. And that was also back in the 90s. And luckily for myself, I didn't get laid off. And I managed to stick around until 2017. But then I retired on purpose. We were in the motorcycle and traveling around. We would go on day trips, I guess, on Saturdays or something like that. We also had a motorhome, so we usually took the motorhome if we had any really, camping and whatnot traveling to do. But I guess she was inspired by, and so also she's from Oregon. So even though the town is fictitious and et cetera, she made the story occur in Oregon. And I don't know where she got the idea for it. It's just or how she got so descriptive with the bad guys, how their behavior and all that stuff, and it's almost like X-rated. Well, I guess you'd say it's almost X-rated, or it's not for kids. Anyways, this is about this guy who takes a trip and then stumbles upon these bad guys who they beat him up, and then they try to get rid of him, but everybody sees them dumping the body. And so the people that were there, this area where the guy dumped the body out of the van, they went and kind of rescued that guy. And there just happened to be an ambulance on the way back on the same road that pulls over, and they take him to the nearest hospital. And the story picks up from there. And that's another kind of story about good versus evil, and the triumph of good over evil.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Kenne. As we start to tie up this wonderful interview, curiosity for myself, what would you say was a highlight for Tawnee writing these books? Or if not a highlight, maybe something that surprised her, or what was a highlight for you watching her comprise and create these wonderful books?
Oh, I was intrigued because I figure I'm a person who doesn't have a very good imagination. I would say that I have trouble coming up with stories. So I never really considered writing myself. At least, not till now, maybe, because I'm retired now. But anyways, yeah, I don't know where she got it, and but I really like the way she weaves the story together between the different scenes or different things going on between the good guys and the bad guys, and how they meet up, and it's pretty intriguing.
Guys, listen, what more can be said? I don't know about you, but I can certainly use something that will take me away from the day-to-day monotony that has become COVID living situation that we've all experienced. Utilizing these books, Ting, The Silent Warning, and then going with Carlton, Downsized, you can do just that. You got to go to Amazon, Barnes & Noble, check out author DonnieChasny.com to get your hands on those copies. Kenny, this has been an absolute pleasure. Thank you once again for being a guest with us and speaking on behalf of Tawnee. We truly appreciated having you as a guest at People of Distinction.
Well, thank you, and you're welcome.
Writer's Branding.